Hello friends and viewers. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for subscribing to our channel. The number of subscribers are increasing. We are very encouraged and motivated to give more and more information about health, well-being and disease. And it also puts a responsibility and onus for us to give the right information so that more and more people understand what is health and disease and how to maintain it as well through natural healing solutions of yoga, naturopathy and acupuncture. So in the event of talking about all these aspects, we have been touching one specific term, inflammation, through several videos in the previous videos what we have loaded up. But we thought now it's time for us to explain what is inflammation, what are the kinds of inflammation, and what are the causes of inflammation. In the next video probably I'll talk about the solutions, but today we'll restrict towards the causative factors and what is inflammation and what are the types of inflammation. Inflammation, the word itself, inflame, means burning. It's a Latin word which tells about there is something burning. But we need to understand that inflammation is a protective mechanism created by the Almighty for all the species, for all the living species on earth. What happens exactly? If there is some invasion of pathogens, in the sense like virus, bacteria, extreme climatic changes, small abrasions, injuries, maybe during sports or day-to-day activities. So there is something the body feels it is threatened. So I need to protect myself from the external aggression. So what happens? There are a lot of protective cells like white blood cells which are called WBCs. They are pumped into that local area where the injury or a pathogen enters to protect yourself so that we prevent the death of the tissue. Imagine if there is a cut for various reasons, or if there is an infection and if there is no protective mechanism, automatically the tissue dies. So it can lead to a lot of eventually to fatal conditions as well. Chronic infections, if it is not addressed properly by antibiotics, which has been the invasion of the, it's a discovery of the century, of the last century, a lot of people would have been died by now. So antibiotics will prevent. The same way, inflammation is also a protective mechanism. But the problem is, if this inflammation continues on a long run, then it causes a lot of diseases. So that is what is inflammation all about. So this inflammation can be of two types, acute and chronic. Acute is for a very short duration and chronic is for a long duration. Acute inflammation can be simple gastritis, rhinitis. Rhinitis means inflammation of the nostrils because of some allergic reaction or because of infection whatsoever it is. It lasts for only 2-3 days and you will recover from the cold, common cold what we call it as. Gastritis also can be because of some stomach upset due to food intake, some wrong foods. So it can be for a short duration, 3-4 days it can stay and it will resolve by itself, either by medication or home remedies or sometimes medication as well. Chronic inflammation is something which persists for a long period of time. Arthritis, for example, degenerative arthritis, inflammatory arthritis sometimes can live with us for a lifetime. So that is what is called as chronic inflammation. 1 year, 2 years, many months, it can go on. So that is what inflammation types are all about. So now what are the probable causes for the inflammation to be there? Before that, I want to speak about a low-grade inflammation. And this low-grade inflammation is something which we cannot recognize. That's why we call that as low-grade inflammation. So there are no symptoms out of it. We may not even understand, we may not find through any blood tests or scans anything of that kind of the signs of inflammation. But that is one of the major causes the science has understood today for several chronic ailments, including diabetes, hypertension, cancer, stroke, you name it, and several autoimmune disorders, irritable bowel syndrome of the colon, Crohn's disease, diverticulitis. So many conditions are there today, which is the root cause is low grade inflammation. So we need to address this low-grade inflammation. We'll talk about those solutions in the next episode. But before that, we also need to understand what are the signs and symptoms of inflammation. Signs is something which you have a kind of swelling, redness. These are the cardinal signs of inflammation. And what you experience the symptom is the pain. So these are the cardinal symptoms of inflammation. And it is called by a term called itis. All the itis, whatever we go through, rhinitis, gastritis, arthritis, meningitis, all this is nothing but what is known as inflammation. And the line between infection and inflammation is very thin. Many a times it is very difficult to recognize what is infection, what is inflammation. Both represent in the same way. The causative factor is almost similar in both the stages, both the situations. In infection, the same thing. Pathogens are cause of inflammation. In inflammation is a process which happens after the pathogen enters our body. So very thin line or almost no line. That's why we treat many a times with antibiotics for inflammation also, along with anti-inflammatory drugs. That's the modern perspective of dealing with it. And it is very much needed when it is acute to address with medication. We need to address this low-grade inflammation with several natural solutions so that we can prevent a lot of these lifestyle disorders which are becoming an epidemic all over the world. And it is bringing down the exchequer with billions and billions of dollars, and loss of man hours in working and quality of life going down the drain to a large extent. One simple example is the pandemic, what we have going through now, what we have passed to a certain extent, is also a typical situation of inflammation, acute inflammation. Cytokine storm, what we might have understood during the pandemic time, is nothing but acute inflammation causing the death of the organ or the cell, leading to lot of complications. So steroids is usually given to prevent the inflammation or suppress the inflammation so that the death of the person is not there. So this is all about inflammation. And let us understand what are the basic causes of low-grade inflammation. Lifestyle is one of the major causes. We need to understand that a proper lifestyle, active lifestyle is very important. In the sense, having food at the right times, having exercise adequately based on each individual, and keeping our stresses at very minimal or very manageable levels, and having a emotional moderation in all our emotions and balance. If we have all these things, automatically the inflammation won't be there or can be managed to a large extent. So that's very important. We have made videos about natural living in 3 episodes, which will talk in detail about quality of life, what you should lead. So all those videos you can watch to understand how we can prevent this low-grade inflammation. I hope I have given enough information about inflammation. Those who are interested can reach to us for the solutions of inflammation, how to manage it, which varies according to each individual, and also read through if you need to. In the next episode, we'll discuss about the solutions for inflammation. Low-grade inflammation, acute and chronic, all of them. Thank you so much for your time and patience to watch this video. Thank you.